What's up, everybody? Ram fam. So today we're gonna just bring it back out to you. If you watched this year's intro video, our introduction, our panel, we had a very good conversation towards the end where we were talking about specifically Dr. Umar Johnson, and we were talking about whether he is a scammer or not. That was quite the conversation. Um, for me, I was trying to make it clear that my interest is in the fact that he is another person in the mental health sphere, and that it is about the mindset in which he is trying to get most of us in this community in, and that he is a Pan Africanist. Um, if you watch that video, you see that the conversation went a multitude of ways. And then I did a short video to introduce you to today's conversation. I shared a multitude of links of videos in which I would be referencing today. So I hope that you all had the chance to look at least two of those, because I will not be pulling those up. I am just going to be referencing those. And so today I am going to have my husband joining me. What is up, Davita? As we navigate through this conversation. Have notes. I'm trying to stay on topic, but hey, it is a flowing conversation, and it may or may not make sense to you as we get to talking. So, what's up, Ameer?
What's going on? You hear me?
Yep, I can hear you. So, we were talking about Umar Johnson, and we were talking about the main thing, I guess, that we're going to start with. We're going to start with talking about if it's okay to tear a person down or not in order to prove your point. And where I want to start with is the video that was shared. There was two videos that were shared with us. One is this guy's channel, Linen Honor, and then there was one I don't remember, but in that other video, I don't even know if you watched. Did you watch either one of them?
Did I watch either one of them?
Yes.
Just the stuff that I watched with you.
The other video I can't think of, but Rod Digger is the other co-host on that other channel. And I will say that on that particular podcast in which Rod Digger is on, they were really trying to educate. They were trying to get Umar Johnson to answer the question, and also trying to educate that if he is going to build a school, he can do it, and that he can solicit the proper help from people who have done this before. And he gave an example that of his father-in-law who has built a school. And as I was watching it, this was a different Umar Johnson than I've ever seen. Oh, I mean, he was cussing. He was using the N-word. He was cutting them all off. Like, he was quite rude. But at the end of the day, he is still a person. He is a person. He is a man. And to continue being asked about this school, he has said on multiple platforms, he's just tired of being asked about this school. And they're just trying to get him to answer, yo, bro, you have got to show the receipts. Show receipts, show the proof. Where's the evidence of this school? And people have the right to ask you. Then he was given, like I said, going back, he was given the example of his father-in-law. And his father-in-law successfully built a school, but his father-in-law's school is on the property of a church. Soon as he said that, me following Umar Johnson's journey and story and information, I already knew that he wasn't listening no more, because he's not trying to build his school on the property of a church. This is a different situation. Should he have listened? He still should have listened and try to listen to the point. So the thing is, the message versus the messenger. Should you still listen? This guy, Lennon Honor, is trying to deliver the same message, but I think he's going too far because his YouTube channel has two separate playlists committed only to Umar Johnson, and one of them has over 134 videos, which he just made one about 2 days ago. He made another one where he's simply just talking about Umar Johnson and just tearing him down. So that was a lot with just an intro. I'm setting the stage and the context for you all. So what say you? I'll let you open the floor with that part of the conversation.
Where do you want me to start? At school or
no? Well, I mean, whatever. With you can go back to the other conversation of he needs to show his evidence, otherwise he can be deemed a scammer, or just is it okay to tear any person down in order to prove your point?
Yeah, I will start with the school piece first. I think if you're doing the work on the behalf of any organization, right, be it religious, ethnic, whatever the organization is, I think we still should demand. We shouldn't even demand it. It should be something that is a hallmark of whatever individual who's doing it, that they should be able to be transparent, right? There should be independent verification of whatever you're doing. If we're given funds, right? If this is your own private funded thing and you're generating the funds through your own labor or whatever, and you're using your own monies, then maybe not so much. But if you're doing something on my behalf and we are putting resources towards it, I think you should be transparent. There should be no mystery or like, hey, I got it, this, and you only tell us what you deem to tell us only when you're questioning about it. And so I can understand maybe his frustration, but at the same time, I think that's been a problem. It's not necessarily being a scammer, but we've run into individuals who's supposed to be doing something on our behalf. They run into some type of roadblock, and we have no idea. And we continue to sink money into the effort, and then only to find out in the end that it was all for nothing. And that's we have to stop. That's just accountability. Not outside of talking about someone being a scammer. I just think that a lot of people don't like to be accountable.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feelings towards it. I never understood the well, I lie. I do understand. It gets people clicks. Talking about people in a way, because no one reports about, well, sometimes people report about it, but no one really talks about how beautiful kittens are and cats, right? We don't have YouTube videos where people have this long discussion about the beauty of puppies and cats. And you may get a few people to click on it, but you're not going to get a lot about it. But if you say, hey, it's the cat, the dog's worst enemy, right? And you put up something nefarious, man, mm-hmm. people are going to click on it just to see what the cat's going to do. And so I think that fella is doing a little bit of that. I understand him critiquing Dr. Umar. I don't think anyone's above critique. When you start to get up into the hundreds of videos, I think that's an obsession, and you've gone a little bit well past the critique, because I think you should just stick to one point and dig in deeper. Show this stuff. If you're saying, hey, he has not done X, right, and this is really what he's been doing, I think the first video, okay, I looked at it. Now, if you're going to send another one, show me that what he's doing. You alerted me to it, but actually now produce evidence. It's the same thing. Produce the receipts, stuff that actually can be tracked and traced from your part, but you just keep releasing videos. So I don't know if you're any different from Dr. Umar when it comes to that. that point right there. Like, bro, you just releasing videos after video saying this guy's a scammer. Okay, so now show us how easy scamming. Like, he could go to Aruba. You can't say he sells books. He does speaking engagements, so he gets money from other places. Now, if you showed me that he is using monies that we gave to him, right? That's what I want to see. You show that, then yeah, now we got you, bro. You are using. Here's what your income, your stated tax income return say. This is how much you made, right? And there is no way you was able to do X, Y, and Z unless you were using money from another source. So, can you show us that the money we gave you is sitting inside some fund that's protected, that hasn't had transactions in and out? You should be able to show that. If you can't, then you can't be mad if people critique you as a scam artist.
Right. In this particular guy's channel. Now, granted, I looked at 1.5 videos. I did not look at 5. I did not look at 20. But in those videos, that's not what he did. He was just talking about the fact of how long it's been since he's been talking about this school. And then he started digging into Umar's personal life. He's putting things about him personally out there, and he's making accusations. So he could be sued for defamation and all types of things for what he is saying. And I would be interested if your point is to just stick to the school, stick to the fact that he has not produced this school. I would be interested if anyone watches this guy's channel, if in any of these videos, if he actually brought on any of these plumbers that he stuffed, any of the roofers, anyone who's actually reached out to Dr. Umar and has been stuffed. If any of those people have been on his channel, cool. I would love to see that. Otherwise, if you're an objective person, you have no choice than to take Dr. Umar at his word, which now you got to back up. You have to back all the way out to what I am saying about mindset change. The mindset that as a Pan-Africanist, or maybe business, I don't know, but the Pan-Africanist, in which he is saying he's trying to do this thing pure black, all black. He does not want help from any outsiders who is not black. How possible is that? I do not know. But as I have reviewed his story and I watch other things that have happened, it has taken those people a long time as well. And I have my note here of the Orally Foundation. There's a longer name to it than that. But this doctor, she's well known. She's been getting her accolades. She's been putting in the work. She's fighting cancer. She's got research to fight cancer. She's been offered money from the white institutions and all that. She turned that money down because she wants the funds to come from us. And it hasn't gotten there yet. It hasn't gotten there. And it's been years. I think I put on my own Amazon Smiles account that I want monies to be going to her in this foundation. And it hasn't gotten there. But I don't deem her to be a scammer. I believe that she's putting in the work. She's doing the research. So as I've been watching her journey, as I've been watching his journey, as I'm watching currently now, new fan base, Isaac Hayes. It's only one person I heard call him a scammer because he's asking for money. When people are trying to do something all black, this is how we treat each other. So what say you about that?
Yeah, I think, we discussed this when it just like I try to see things from different perspective, right? And I think when people hear all black, right, that scares everyone, right? The secret to it, right, is if you go, hey, I want to do things all American, people just fall for that.
Mhm.
It could be all white, right? And no one's going to say anything because you put a banner of all American on it. One, because it's all black, right? I don't think black people should. I don't think they should lower the standard on what the expectation is. In the same token, whatever group comes to sell you something, be it a mixed group, a group of one ethnicity, whatever it is, right? As a consumer of anything, um, you should not turn that off. So I got no. If black people says, "Hey, I don't know about this," right? I don't think anything necessarily wrong with that. What I see is someone else can show up and offer it, right?
Mhm.
And people will go with it, right? Right. There's no offense, but when a Dr. Umar has done things that is very similar to what some black churches, not all, but some black churches have done something very similar, right? And people have continued to sink money into that, without being the same way. And I'm like, I'm not saying don't give money to the black church. I'm not saying don't give money to Dr. Umar. I'm saying if we have a standard of people need to produce evidence, we need to stay consistent on that. Be that whatever politician that we decide to vote for, whatever church we decide to attend, whatever civic organization that we decide to get behind, we should still keep that same thing. We should squint our eyes and go, all right, you got to show evidence, right? That same standard that we are putting out there. But I see us move up and down, right? So then people look at us ourselves or other groups within our larger group look at each other and go, you're a hypocrite. And that's what it turns to be. And we don't like to be told that, but it is hypocritical. I'm like, yo, keep the same standard. Make people show you the receipts. Um, and yeah, I just think that's fair. So I don't want to take that right away from anybody. I'm saying let's extend it across the board. Um, Doing it all black, right? I do I do understand the noble thing, but if you want to do that, that's where the transparency comes into play.
Mhm.
Every time I heard someone says I want to do this thing all black, they were trying to source everything themselves. They didn't really have assistance, right? Because I can know not everyone who's all black or whatever black organizations. I don't know them all. So if you do that, right, you got to open that up to the people that's supposedly helping you. Like, what is your administration? You got to let those individuals help seek out, because they are black plumbers that's somewhere in San Diego that may not necessarily be in the same sphere as Dr. Umar, that has no idea that he has needs, right? So he
Mhm.
has to put in. So I should be able to go to your site. Hey, Dr. Umar says, hey, these are all the things that I need. I'm going to open up bids for contractual bids for this right here. I should be able to see that. And you can say, hey, look, he's got 15 bids, right? It is all transparent, right? There, like anytime there's a contract with the government, right? The government has to, put out the request for proposal. People get to see these are the competing entities, right? and you can go, oh, they got it. Now, sometimes it might be a little shady. I got it. That's. I'm not saying that this is a perfect system. I'm saying that that is a start to becoming transparent, so we can see that this is the group that wanted to help. This is the group. This is the group. Because the only thing we're being told, and we hear about these horror stories that we still trying to vet to see if they're even true, but we never get to know the companies. There are way too many black companies out there. They're just all over the place. So if you wanna do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's got to be. I think you got to be transparent to the people that are giving you funds.
Yeah. So Davita says she thought about it. I won't do it. It's not 100% black what that sound like, but it starts to align. That's more of a dream than a goal.
Well, I think it is I think it is a. It's a dream when you don't actually put a plan together. It will remain a dream. To someone who doesn't have the administrative capacity, it stays a dream to that individual. But that's it. There are other black folks out there who have a high capacity for administrative, that governance mindset, right? MLK was awesome, right? He was a great speaker, tremendous leader. He did not put forth the plan for the civil rights movement. He had some powerful administrators who thought about strategy, who thought about this, and they would consult with MLK, and MLK would give his ideas and thoughts and say, "This is what we want to do." So they took "I have a dream" and actually turned it into a plan, right? So you can have a visionary, but visionaries are notoriously bad for leading.
Mm-hmm.
So you need good people around you. You have to surround yourself with good people. The thing is, we got to see the people that did surround MLK. We understood those individuals were great in their own aspect. So we understood what was around it. We understood what the strategy was. I think what people started to become suspicious of Dr. Umar is who else is his team,
Around him.
because
Mm-hmm.
we only see him. And that's, so I think he sets himself up. He's making it. He makes it seem like he is doing something shady because nobody else gets to see the books.
Yeah. And like you were saying in the other video about um, uh, Mike, from down in Georgia when he tried to do the whole pro-black. Who is it?
Killer Mike.
Killer Mike. Yeah, when he tried to do that, it is possible. We just have to believe. Uh, for one, for two. So as I said, going back, is it the message or the messenger? Does one outweigh the other? When people hear Dr. Umar Johnson, they may know him for a particular lane or for a bubble, but not the whole intersection and sphere of who he is. So the Pan-Africanism that he speaks of, the mental health things that he speaks of, coming together as a community, as well as the mental health, all of these things that he talks about, people throw it out the window because they're stuck on the evidence of the school, or they throw it out because they're stuck on the snow bunny thing. Regardless, if you believe, just as obviously Killer Mike believed, that we are stronger together, then you will make it happen. As I have my note somewhere, probably in this phone somewhere, of all of the ways that Dr. Umar Johnson has said that we need, and he's not the only one. I know he didn't make this up, but he said we need schools, banks, hospitals, and one more thing. hospital and stores, markets, food markets, something like that. Which I believe that's what Killer Mike was trying to do down there. And people get stuck on the school part. But where are our black banks? We have so many people who are trying to be financial advisors and things like that. Won't we turn that into a bank? Oh, and I think the prison systems or something like that. But the hospitals, we have so many doctors. Won't we make our own hospitals? And then, of course, the stores and the markets. Obviously, we have black farmers. And we so many people who are smart in so many areas. We can make this thing happen if we just don't believe that it's better over there, or that we can't do it, or that we're not good enough. Because as we know, right here in DC, as there's so many things getting shut down, and even if we're boycotting and protesting, people are living off of McDonald's, Popeyes, and all this. Why? Because it's food deserts. There's nothing near our people except for liquor stores and McDonald's. But if we came together and pulled our resources, we can build food markets.
But it's something I think so. We do know like some of the ridiculous racial policies
Right.
that have created some of this mess, right? But there right, but okay. So we understand there's policies. But one should ask, why do we have liquor stores and fast food joints inside of a lot of urban spaces?
Mm-hmm.
And other poor communities too, right? So it's not just tied to black community, right? If we go to some towns in Tennessee, right, where there are almost zero black people, right? You still see the same thing. There's a church, there's a gun store, there's a liquor store, right? Those things are persistent, and and those are food deserts as well, and they're rural areas. So you still see the same thing, and so one would should ask why. Why do you see those things and not necessarily the grocer, right? Even in those areas. So let's put black people aside. Let's look at those areas. It is easier to obtain a liquor license, a fast food permit, than it is to obtain distribution rights of produce. So it is hard to get a grocery store, right? You talking about banks? That's how you get assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard. It's hard to. It's that the regulations and the legality around banks is insane, right? They put that bar extremely high. Not saying it's not achievable, but one would have to look at why one thing exists and why the other thing does not exist. And so, and there's a fatal flaw, right? I am not advocating that everything should be black, because I have to strip that away. That is a make America great again. That's really what that is. In that is when a country turns inward and say we will produce everything that we need for ourselves, there will be no like capital generated because we're eating our own, right? Whatever I generate, so this brings the prices down on everything, and everything almost turns into de facto barter, right? There's no way to make more money, right? That's what happens inside the country. So that's why it seems like, hey, we should produce in everything, right? The Nazis, they produce stuff, but they were very much still trying to win the hearts of the international community because they understood that they still had to sell outside of the market, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so So they can have their racial policies, but they go, we still need to sell this stuff to this group of people, right? When that group goes, we can do everything ourselves internally, and we'll just distribute it amongst each other. That country will start to break apart, right? And so it's what happening to Black Americans. We turn inward because there's external pressures, which is understandable, but we don't realize that no one's going to be able to generate any capital outside of that to invest in other things. You can say all Black, but you're going to have to sell to other groups of people, right? Because there's only like 52 million of us, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so um how's that going to work out, right? If you sold a thing for $1, that's only like what, $52 million, right? So you didn't really make any money to reinvest, to do all these other things. And so I do understand when people say that, but then I go, you don't understand the bigger picture. Like, if you're going to do that, who are you going to sell these products to that's outside of our community? That means you want to compete for trade.
Yeah.
Right? You need to be looking abroad. You're gonna have to sell here. You're gonna have to sell here. You're gonna have to get international license. Right? There's so much more to be done to where we have to. We just can't say Black everything. That's a brand, but we got to be careful that Black everything doesn't become no different than saying MAGA. Right? Like, those things have fatal flaws within them. And even within the MAGA movement, right? There's individuals in the MAGA movement who want to source their skills and labor outside of the group, right? Because they still need to grow. So people understand that, like, we can't just do everything ourselves. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Everybody understands that, but so we get trapped into a Black everything and saying, well, I'm only going to use Black labor. I'm only you're going to use a Black business, and why don't we have a Black grocery store, right? Um, there's it's that situation is sufficiently more complex than the slogans that we use, and we have to think about different strategies, right? You can source stuff from different groups, right? African kingdoms still sourced stuff from different areas across the continent, right? They did not. That gold that was in Ghana didn't stay in Ghana. That gold was in Ghana showed up in other places. That gold in Mali showed up in other places. Other goods and services and stuff were brought in areas because you can't make everything you want inside of Ghana, inside of Mali, inside, right? So they have to touch everything if you're going to be part of the international market. And so we don't end up being just a subset of a country that's starting to become insular.
Yep, I think you said two different things. You said uh Black produced only and then Black selling only. I do believe, yeah, you should also sell to others. And then one of the conversations, that I have seen, that's been the thing. Like, there's nothing wrong with selling to others. It's about who we are buying from. Who are we helping with our dollars? Our dollars do not stay with us long enough.
Yeah,
So yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely you accept other people's money. Well, we was just watching. Oh, you didn't watch it with me. I shared the link of the Muslim brother who was on Nick Cannon's show, and the lesson in which he was trying to teach some young thugs um was about how when you can go, they felt like they own, like, this my city, this my hood, right? So he just took them around, like Chinatown, Koreatown, Germantown, whatever. And it's like, you don't own this, whatever. And in one of those places, one of those subsections, they went into a store and he was telling them how the owner of that place waited on everybody else before they waited on him. And he was saying it's not discrimination, it's taking care of his own first. right? So the Muslim brother didn't really buy whatever it was. He was just trying to prove a point that there's nothing wrong with that. You take care of your own first, then you come and get the business of everybody else. Um,
No, I so
you
I
just make me think of that point. But those of you who are watching, like I did share it on Facebook. I've shared it. You can go look at that. Brother Muhammad, that was on Nick Cannon's show.
yeah, so I understand what when people are saying like, oh, we could sell to, but we have to buy from our own, right? Yes, absolutely. And therefore we're going to try to replicate what the other
Other
side
people. Mm-hmm.
other people have, right? So we can go because then it becomes right. I It's a logical train. Okay, we make a black grocery store, right? So then that black grocery store has to buy from black farmers, right?
Mm-hmm.
That'll be the next thing. So then that means we have to have black farmers in all of the markets that we want to access. So now we got to go go buy from black coffee makers, coffee growers,
Mm-hmm.
mango, papaya, coconut, collard greens, right? It will hit a point that we can't.
Yeah.
And so that should be known up front. That means the message tweaks a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
right? We should think more investment than just simply buying, right? If we want farmers in those spaces, and some of those farmers are going to be outside the country, like Jackie Robinson, brother, no, Jackie Robinson himself. His son lives in Africa and he grows coffee. So I look where Jackie Robinson's son sell coffee, but no one even talks about Jackie Robinson's son. Like you got to go find those. It's if people are going to present the idea, then we got to stop presenting the idea. Like Davida said, those are dreams. Now lay down. What should be a hyperlink under there is how does one start a business in coffee? How does one start a business in grocery stores? How does one start a business in those things? Right? We should be, and that means that the education that we give our children should be around economics and business. Like we should increase
Yeah.
that.
It's pretty much the same. Prejudice, not a preference. Discrimination over, however he said it. But check it out.
Yeah, I'm not saying you. I'm not saying definitely. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I'm saying
Mm-hmm.
that those entities have set up networks, right? So if you go look at Indian Americans, they have established networks
Yeah.
to be able to get to the things to sell here in America because Indian Americans want to buy stuff from India. So they have set up things to get the stuff that they want. So there's a distant end to their demand. So people produce it gets sent here, then it's sold, right? But they have invested in those things. If we are not doing the other end, what Killer Mike tried to do, that's why it's so impossible. Black people don't make wigs.
Don't make what?
Wigs.
Yeah.
That's one of our biggest expenses. So why
Mm-hmm.
not black people inside of that? Like, hey, that's you talking about buy black, right? Don't tell me just go to a black beauty store when that black beauty store is still brought from the same people, right? They you gotta produce the thing. And then that would allow people to be able to participate in a preference based economy.
I was actually thinking about the nails the other. I think it probably was yesterday. Nail salon. There are a lot of black women on IG and all of this who show that they do nails. Now, of course, I have not frequented any of them or visited whatever the word patronized. I haven't gone to any of them, but it appears that that's all they do. They just do the nails. They just do the designs of the nails. But to your point, like you go to a hair salon or even a hair product store, they're not making the wigs, the other things that people want. So the black woman who is doing fingernails, you're not doing the rest that goes with that. Why black people ain't getting all up in there and doing feet? Y'all not doing feet and massaging and doing all those other things. Now, the people who sell Mary Kay, occasionally they may do a little feet massage and footwork, but it's on an every day. Y'all not going in there getting in the crevices and all that of
But that
people's
you
feet.
said Mary Kay. That's like who the distribution for Mary Kay. Like that's part of it, right? Mary Kay has access to the products, right?
Mm-hmm.
And black people end up in the same position. So I am buying from you, black person, but black
Yep.
person, you are acquiring your products from somebody else who's
Somebody
getting
else.
on the downline. And
Mm-hmm.
so like and but I it's that's going to be very hard to change. And so like our model and how we keep community has to be a little bit different, right? Can we replicate Tulsa? Because Tulsa eventually would have ran into the same problem. They would have to source some of the skills labor material outside of that group as they went bigger and bigger, because that's just what happens. And then, or they would have started eating themselves. That's normal. And so we gotta plan for expansion, not simply and I'm not telling everybody needs to get into this, but we have to also have other plans that are working on creating a international network. That's how all of this works in other economies. They have established networks. They send people there on the ground to help develop networks so they can get other resources into that into the system so people can buy it. If not, like no one in Ghana knows to buy something from a black girl in Florida. They don't even know how to get it.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you don't know how to do that, but guess what? China figured out how to sell their products into the American market. So if you want to go on Temu, you can go buy something on Temu. It might not get here fast.
What's your kids doing? Oh, they
Yeah,
being
but
loud.
so yeah, because he was trying to set up shop down here and play the game. So yeah, so they've figured out international markets, the same thing, and they help each other out in those international markets. They show each other. They go into an area, they understand commerce, then they teach them this is how you do X in America.
Yeah.
Right? We don't. That's the part that we're missing. Like we don't. Everyone is trying to do it on their own. They play a team sport. We're playing individual sports and hoping for team success.
Team, we team and community. So let's go ahead and get a little bit spicy. Is this the second episode of the year? Second full episode. Let's do it. You ready? I mean, it's just me and you. Community, tearing people down. The bitch said, "Ooh." So it's just a little bit. So I also shared a video like of Monique. Now, when Monique, because we going back to the message and the messenger. So when Monique was sharing these messages about community, people did not want to listen to her. When she was talking about, if I'm the auntie, you want to call me auntie, I earned this title to be auntie, she should be able to tell these girls to stop coming out with their do-rags and their house coats, their slippers and all that. People didn't want to hear it because it was Monique. But also, when Monique was talking about the pay gaps of black women, black actresses, and even comedians, people did not want to listen. When she was trying to tell everybody what happened to her with Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, and Lee Daniels, people didn't want to listen. They thought she was just being messy. So Monique, Message versus the Messenger, even Bill Cosby, because before all this stuff came out, when he wrote his book talking about how we name our kids and how we're talking and all of this versus the Cosby Show and all this stuff, people wanted to listen, or even they wanted to tear him down, whatever the case may be. And I swear I have one more person written down on here. Oh, I, I don't really have him on here in this same sphere, but I'm gonna just go ahead and throw him in because I'm on the fence with him. I'm gonna put Snoop. I don't know what message Snoop is delivering, but I'm gonna go ahead and put him here because Snoop did have, or maybe he still does, have the football camps and all these other things that Snoop has going on. He was with Master P trying to do better with the cereals and all this other stuff. So I think that's one positive message that Snoop was trying to deliver. Versus the messenger. Because it was Bill Cosby later on when y'all found out about the rapes, versus Monique, the loud, fat black woman, versus Snoop. Does that mean that the message, and Umar for this matter, does this mean that the message is no longer valid because they're still trying to help our community, help bring us together, help us realize how to fight, how to unite, whatever the case may be? But because it's them, it's not worth listening to.
uh, I think in those individuals, they're slightly different, a little bit. A little bit. When people say the message, right, and I go, what is the message, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they should be doing something that we are hearing at home.
Mm.
And so if if at home is already saying, yo, we need to step our game up, right? No one's going to have a problem with what they're saying, but that's not always the message at home. And that's for a variety of reasons, right? Some, uh, Snoop came from a particular environment, so it's get it how you live. And so if you can hustle to get it, then you're gonna hustle to get it. Um, we were talking about in Capoeira today. No, actually, it was last night. And one of the songs, right? All by Tega, right? We're talking about butter, the butter spilling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when the butter spill, the enslaved African is like, I don't know how that butter, I don't know how it spilled, or what happened to it. It fell, so I threw it away. And he's got like butter on his face, and you're like, it's dude clearly ate the butter. But he's like, I don't know what happened, right? And so it's it's that mindset to I can bleed a thing dry to get to the stuff I want, right? Other countries try to do this to the U.S. and then the U.S. Participates in it as well. So, and when you come from that world, is Snoop inconsistent with that message? Nope. Nope.
I
There's like
guess no.
there's like hustle. I'm hustling, bro. If that dude want to give me to go out here and rap for 5 minutes, right? And he want to give me 25 million. I guess I might take that right there, right? Because I'm getting money from this group of people, right? And so So that's why we have to be kind of careful, right? I'm not. I'm not explaining for Snoop. Snoop has to do his own explaining. I'm saying that if we understood more of the game, then we can ask better questions and demand different things out of individuals, right? Um, and so is that why he did it? But I think if you come right at him and say, "Yo, you're Uncle Tom, man, for doing that," I think that kind of misses the point. And then that
Yeah,
shows,
Uncle Tom, because he said that somebody else was gonna be an Uncle
yeah,
Tom.
he set himself up, and I'm like, I don't know why you did that, buddy, because eventually you're going to hit a situation, like I said, you're going to have to procure stuff from different groups, right? So you're already setting yourself up for disaster. Now that's why I do think with Bill Cosby the same way, right? So what is actually the message, right? Saying that someone needs to transform themselves to be accepted by a group, right? I don't think people are going to hear that. People are not going to hear that. And he set himself up by putting that message out, saying that, hey, we got to put our best foot forward. We need to really understand the game, understand the market, like what's going on. So if you're saying, hey, you should have multiple tools in your toolbox and use whatever the tool is necessary to achieve that job, but you're still a craftsman, right? But a craftsman may have to use a hammer, may have to use a saw, may have to do this. And so that message is different. You got tools that you have to use, but you still know who you are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, but we get to the only way they're going to accept you if you use a hammer. That's a bad message. You should have different capabilities. They teach that to the military. That sometimes you may have to put your uniform on. Sometimes you may have your civilian clothes on. Sometimes you got your PT uniform on, right? You got on different uniforms for different scenarios. And so, but you still should know who you are. And so we should be doing a lot to reinforce who you are, who we are, and then people are going to act independently, right? We shouldn't be limiting people how they're going to do a thing. But if everybody kind of understood a central idea and message, then if I see you over there doing a different thing, if I know really we all know the message, and I go, she's probably doing what she needs to do within the spirit of where she's at.
But there is it not? I'm gonna make it a question. Is it not still true that naming your kids these made up names, taking a name, half the mother name and half the father name, putting it together, that is putting you behind the power curve or behind the ability to get chosen for the interview, as opposed, because I like how you just said that, as opposed to saying embrace your Africanness, right? Because already we went from David and Alexander to Kamau. And they're like, what is that? What does that mean? It's an African name, and we're going to embrace that. To Bone Quisha and David Shaquisha. Now that child, that's different than the child who comes in named Kamau and Zendaya. Is this true or not? Do you believe in what? Following up with what you just said, do you not think that that's probably what he should have said, is to embrace more of an African name instead of these made up names?
I don't know. I don't know. I think people still should be able to choose the name that they want to use, but they shouldn't be choosing names to run away. Like
To run away?
to try to separate yourself, right? Because some people are like, I don't want to be associated with Africans, right? And so then they're doing things out of fear versus if you want to name your kid Michael, name your kid Michael. I don't care what you name your kid, right? But give Michael a strong sense of who they are, and that will help carry the way. Because I look at it is, yeah, you're afraid that your kid might be discriminated against, but um, Martin Luther was discriminated against, right? Mr. King still was discriminated against. Frederick Douglass was still discriminated against. None of these individuals had African-centric names, and they were discriminated against. So just so you can, right? People, I still get to see who you are, right? And when you come in for the actual in-person interview, right? Michael might have gotten you through the resume portion, but if someone's going to hate on you, they still get to see you. Now we say, hey, interviews are done in the blind, right? But they don't. So naming yourself something so you can try to hide the individual within the society so they're not spotlighted. I don't think that's a good thing. I don't know if that's necessarily good. I don't want any group of people to have to do that. I mean, one of your friends said, "Oh, I wanted a name that was what was it? Was it
Yeah, I don't remember what she said.
what was the word? Gender neutral. Right? You're hiding is what you're trying to do. People are going to see you eventually. So what did you offer? All you did is stole stuff from yourself, right? Because usually what comes along with it is not just the naming, but also the stripping of other cultural things so you don't reflect anything that's cultural so you can assimilate into another group, right? I don't know if it's a good thing. It's a strategy. I understand it, so I can't get mad if someone employs that strategy. But I don't. It hasn't shown itself to be effective. If people don't like you, people don't like you.
Yeah.
That's just straight up. If they don't like you, they don't like you. Hey, if you do the things right, if you say, "Hey, my name is Bonquisha, and but I still treat people well, right? I still work hard. I still do all the things the stuff that I can really control, right? That's all you can do, no matter what your name is. Um, and this is where the investment part is. Hey, Bonquisha, let's hey, how about you get with four other people? You guys pool your money and you go buy the thing that was discriminating against you, right? You want that if you want that grocery store, how about you get an investment group together and you go buy the grocery store?
Yeah.
Right. And so instead of sitting there going, let me try to hide myself within a society, hoping that people would accept me. Um, People will hate on you no matter what the state is, and so changing yourself, it's never been a strategy. I mean, those individuals that were in Tulsa, they was not Afrocentric names. People did not like what they stood for. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, we might get a couple more CEOs, a few more CEOs through having a Eurocentric name. Um, but it hasn't, at least that's the evidence doesn't show that, hey, these names do this right here. You know, like Jay-Z, all these superstars, they don't use their real name, they use a moniker. And that moniker is the one that gets some money. His name is Jay-Z. Jay-Z means what? Right? That dude's right. He got $1 billion. I mean, people. His name was Puffy, and right. All these jokers had people are. If you got a product that people want, people are going to come after it, and whatever your name is.
Yeah. And so Monique, so her message, and she stayed on message. She stayed herself also, but people didn't want to listen. And then once people did actually come out and started sharing their stories, they were saying the exact same thing that Monique had been saying.
Yeah, people should. I mean, man, I'm not in every space, right? None of us are. And so when people are in spaces that you are not in, right? And people talk big trash. If I was there, I would. No, you wouldn't, because if you're not there. Why aren't you there? So don't tell me like if you were there, you would do this. People try to give you the experience, right, of their space, and you got to like you still got to judge it on your own. But if people are giving you their experience and you are not there, for you to kind of try to shut somebody down is pure arrogance. You are not in that space, so I'm trying to understand it. Or sometimes just don't comment it. If you don't really know about the space, shut up. Like you don't have to comment. Like let people fight their own. Like let them fight the battle, but don't get in the way of another person. And when especially when you don't know what's going on over there, that's we say this with we have with reparations. Some people are not in the reparation space, right? But they start commenting on, oh, you shouldn't have reparations. I didn't enslave your ancestors, right? And I go, if you really were in the reparation space, you would understand that when people are calling for reparations, they're calling for reparations behind certain things. So you just watched this show about the Clotilda and Africa Town in Alabama. Those are the descendants of people that were stolen, and it was on an illegal slave ship
Mm-hmm.
that was built for that purpose. They smuggled in these groups, and there are many groups across the United States that origin starts there, right? Those individuals are still alive. The descendants of those individuals.
Yeah.
I don't care if you yes your people did not do that, and we're not blaming you. But when you get in the way of the argument, let those individuals make the argument to the people they need to make the argument to. If you're not part of that, I don't understand why you have something to say about it. Those individuals have a right to be able to at least address their situation. You ain't got nothing to do with it. So shut up. Same thing for individuals who've been in war, after World War II. African American men and women were denied the benefits from the Montgomery GI Bill. Those benefits were what? Assistance with education, assistance with housing.
Yep. Which is still right now.
Still right now.
Still right
So
now.
those individuals and their descendants got beef. Let them deal with it, because there was money set aside for the group of people that went off to go defend the country. But when they came back, only a portion of that money was distributed. Right. So where's the rest of the money that was earmarked and allocated? What happened to that?
Right.
Because not everybody was able to collect on that. So those individuals got a right to say something. And I'm like, you're not in the space. And that's got nothing to do with enslavement. And those, so when people go back and say, hey, I want reparations, other people jump into the business. Immigrants, like, right, what are you in this? What are you doing? Like, this is not even your thing. You don't know enough about it. You're saying, oh, well, I came to this country and I worked really, really hard. So has every group of people. Like, some people are just further along on that journey than you. If you came to the country in 1940, don't tell me about people that came to the country in 1638. Like, you
Right.
behind a little bit, brother. Like, you're not even, well, man, why are we even having this discussion? Like, not saying that reparations are going to be given, but get out the way and allow people to do their thing. But other people jump into the conversation. It's like, that's not your conversation. Like, that's theirs. If people come to you and ask you for your help, you can go, I respectfully decline, and that's what it is. But do note it, because every group of people always show up later on saying, hey, can you help me with my thing? Like, that's what it means to be a citizen. So when Monique is saying stuff, right, sometimes this thing people like, if you don't really know the game, you may not like the person who's saying it, but it's got nothing to do with the treatment of that group, right? So just keep your mouth closed. Like, bro, I ain't got nothing to say. I don't really know what's going on. I'm If that's what she's saying, that's what she's saying. But she wasn't saying, "Hey, Tawana, Ameer, send me some money because they're not giving me this." She ain't saying that. She was saying these jokers is not paying me what I should be. I'm worth.
Right. So
And
what about so in the unity of people who did not stand with her, right? People they know the story, wherever they know her story specifically, but they know that it is happening, right? Because then they came afterwards and basically hold me to as well. Like it's happened to me, right? When her and Steve had to get into it, because he was like, you got to be quiet, you got to play the game, like all the stuff that was coming out.
that's what they told MLK, right? Everybody's
Right.
like, yeah, everybody want to be down with MLK now. The MLK is the man or whatever. Man, there were jokers that were not down with him, and they told him the same thing. Why are you coming down here making so much noise? I don't want him to speak at my church. He can't speak here. He can't speak here. Right? If this is a minister saying, hey, we need to be more like Christ, right? Every church should have been like, that dude's, yeah, because this is Christ. But there are people like, no, we don't. Everything is, I don't want to mess it up for me. Right? They're not really
Yeah.
messing with us. So if you play the game, be quiet, keep your head down, and in 200 years, maybe we get our freedom, man. But dude, don't come down here doing all this stuff, right? He was not the most liked individual, and he's talking about poor people's rights. People did not want to roll with it. And he's talking about liberation in Africa for these African countries and decolonizing them. He's talking about all this stuff right here. People were not down with MLK.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody want to invoke MLK's language, and so you're like, you guys are just whatever. That's what it is, right? So people, you always going to get that opposition, right? That's just what it is. And then as the movement moves, and then people start to get paid, then you'll see everybody hop on the other side, but like, yep, they didn't give me money either. And I was like, no,
Yeah.
you didn't open your mouth at all.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate. Sometimes the first person out the gate is going to be the person that gets roughed up the most, because they're putting the message out that people don't want to hear because they're messing with the status quo, right? That's that is that's human, and unfortunately, right? I don't think we're gonna ever change that. Somebody else is going to step up and say, "Hey, we need to do this right here." They're going to smack that person around, but that person's probably going to give courage to other people to finally say something, which
Yeah.
is exactly what happened. So,
Yes, that's
unfortunately,
what.
she had to go through that, but um, that's us every time. Right? That's just signal to us that she might be on to something.
Yeah. And that took years, years. And she was preaching another message too that I guess it's also a part of tearing people down. I guess we can get into it a little bit. It's still on topic. She was also talking about marriage slash changing your ways, how the black woman to change her ways, which now there's also Miss Pat delivering the same message, or at least quite similar. I don't know if you all are watching Miss Pat, if you've seen her interviews, but Miss Pat, she's also a bigger black woman comedian. In her story, she has a very similar story to Monique's, with the whole being molested and raped as a young child, and all of this. But Monique had also been talking about the fact that well, shoot, they both said they both were talking about how they used to sleep around and how they thought that their body was their power and all of this. People were on Monique about having her husband right beside her. And they were like, why he always got something to say? Why he always there? And they thought that he was putting her up to continue in this fight with Oprah, Tyler, and Lee. But the message that she was also delivering is just simply about learning how to be loved and not trying to be uh, independent and not trying to have all the power. And I took to that message. I admit I was really taken to that message. And people who do or do not know me, like I say a lot, my husband, my husband, my husband, my husband, my husband. I learned this from my husband. I got this from my husband, my husband, my husband. But I am embracing these messages that Monique was saying because I too come from a family where the woman is so independent, don't want to listen, don't know how to submit, yada, yada, yada. But there's Monique and there's Miss Pat delivering this same message. But it's like standing on your sword. They're the ones standing on the sword. I think the unity tearing people down because she, for one, was so about standing beside her husband because her husband is standing beside her. Isn't this what we want? We want to see strong Black marriages, or do we not?
Um,
And her husband had left her out there to fight this fight by herself, the same way her colleagues left her out there to fight. Or should he have not been right there by her side?
yeah, I don't know if remember I said like people's idea of success, a lot of individuals are which is right, this is the society that we live in. um they don't necessarily see marriage as the ultimate, right? That is and because they've seen a lot of individual success. um so yeah, I'm not sold on that people are necessarily invested in the institution of marriage anymore. And I talked to you about it, right? I think part of it is what is it? What is our goal, right? Some people goal is simply get out of the situation that they're in,
Mm-hmm.
right? And if they can get out of the situation that they're in, that is success to them, right? And so if you look at the Black community, it's a lot of Black women who come from uh, environments that are trash. And so it's hard to tell that Black woman, you need to get married. It's like, nah, I need to get liberated first. I got to get out of this mess, right? And so you can see why some people are not going to necessarily be attracted to that message. But there are other Black women who may not, right, who are not necessarily in that scenario, who are looking at building, right? So Monique is coming from the point of a team can build better than an individual. Some people are just not there. So her message is just not gonna, it's not gonna carry, because people look at Oprah and they go, Oprah's not married. Oprah has had a steady person in her life that's a meme, right? We laugh at it. We're like, oh, Statman, but that's her dude. She's just not gonna get married, but she does have her dude, and she has a best friend around her.
Right.
That's how she helped build her empire. So it works. So sometimes maybe it's you gotta have a really good team around you. Marriage is kind of a way to make sure that your team kind of stays cohesive, a little stronger. But maybe, but you should be looking to have a good team. Then marriage should come after that. Is this person gonna help you build? Are you gonna help that person build? Right? What are y'all trying to build? What is it that you're trying to achieve? That's why marriages used to get arranged, right? Because the parents and the family were trying to work that stuff out. Like, I don't know about this person. Everybody's like, no, I love this person. You're not gonna love them every day. And so, but if you guys got a plan, a dream, a thing that your goal that you're working towards, right? That'll help get you through the days that you're not necessarily the happiest with each other. Um, right? So marriage is not simply a love contract, right? It's also a business contract. She's coming from that point. People ain't there, and that is the majority of the country necessarily there either, right? No one thinks about marriage as except the state, right? The state recognizes marriage as a business contract, right? And then when the pastor marries you, it ain't a pastor signing that. It is an agent of the state that is signing that, right? And so you have state implications, taxes, everything that a business would have. So they're treating you like a legal entity, right? And so you got to think about that, right? This is a business transaction that I'm going into. Um, you love the person, that's why you're going into the business transaction. But you better know that it's a business. But when you're coming from that standpoint, and she's saying, "Hey, we got to think about this thing a little bit different." People not even on that. People still talking about love, um, and people worried about self-preservation, trying to get themselves out of their situations. Again, if the message is not for you, then let it move on. But don't go at her because you don't necessarily understand the perspective that she's coming at. Like, why would you go to try to destroy Monique? Like, Monique's this, Monique's that. Oh, dude, if it's not for you, just move on.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why that people take that route. Like, if you don't like what she's saying, now if she's saying some stuff like she's trying to come off and kill you, then I understand you're gonna have beef for her. But if she's just saying a message that you don't see applicable, go find something else to worry about.
Yep. With that, I think that will be a nice place to stop. But pause real quick. If anybody else has any comments or questions that y'all want to place in the chat. I didn't look up today's quote. I would have to walk away real quick to go grab my little calendar piece. Um, but you got a quote you can come up with. Let me see if I can Google something real quick. But I hope everybody is doing okay though out there. Don't let these scare tactics that they trying to do get to you. Take care of each other and yourselves. Do find something that brings you joy and peace. Do I want to read that one? I don't want to read that one. Mm-mm. No.
You got all this. Hey, drink water. Go get some sunlight. Go for a walk.
Here's one.
And if you can do it
The
with a friend, do it with a friend.
first one that I had was from Mother Teresa. No. Education is a passport. Education is our passport to the future, but tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. El Haj Malik El Shabazz. And with that, I'm going to say that we are out. I no longer have access to intro and outro videos. Y'all gonna join me on fan base, where I'm gonna start streaming from there as well. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'm out. Out here.